Growing up as a kid, I was literally the worst at everything. When people went to pick teams for a sport, I was always the one they picked last. When it was getting good grades, I was a straight C student. When it was having a lot of friends, being confident and being popular, I was the kid that was playing alone, that had no friends and just wishing I had friends watching all the other kids play. If it was like coming from a good, awesome family or a wealthy family, I grew up in the low-income apartments. My parents were divorced. My mom liked to drink all day and my dad liked to smoke weed all day, and I was usually left alone to fend for myself. I had horrible handwriting. I wasn't very creative. I wasn't very artistic. I wasn't very funny. I was so insecure and afraid of talking to people that my freshman year of high school, in my math class, I had this girl sitting next to me and she tried to be polite and say hi and talk to me. And instead of just like a normal person turning to her and saying, "Hi, how's it going?" I was so afraid of even saying a word and messing up what I was going to say that I just looked down at my desk and pretended like she didn't exist, because I was just so insecure and just even afraid to speak, because I knew if I spoke, then she would see how bad I was at even just having a conversation, and then my, self-worth would drop even lower. I literally wasn't even good at video games. I had zero natural talent, zero natural ability, zero head start in life. I genuinely was the worst when it came to every category I could think of. Flash forward quite a few years to today. I can play guitar, I can play piano, I can sing. I'm a talented photographer, cinematographer, designer, editor. I have combined on TikTok and YouTube over 245,000 people who come and listen to my advice and what I have to say. I built an insanely successful business filming $1 million weddings. And then of course, you guys know my story where COVID collapsed that business. I had to start over from scratch. So I went from zero income to $147,000 in just 1 year, trying and doing all kinds of different things that a lot of these things I'd never tried before, I'd never done before, but I was crazy successful at almost everything I tried and did. And now today, I have people that come to me and they say, "How are you so talented at everything?" And honestly, when people ask me that, I kind of laugh to myself, because I'm like, dude, if they only knew who I used to be or where I started. Didn't know I'd get so emotional talking about this. So how did I go from the guy who was depressed, alone, and the opposite of successful in everything I did, to the guy other people come to for advice, who's talented at everything, surrounded by people who love me, full of confidence, and on the fast track to success? I mean, there's a lot to that story and a lot I could share about how my life was transformed, but I think on a success, talent, and ability level, a huge part of what was able to take me from having zero talent and zero ability at all these different things to being hyper good at almost everything I did has to do with just the crazy simple power of compounding my habits and my routines. You can't change the starting hand you're dealt with. Unfortunately, if you're dealt a really bad hand and maybe you're dealt the worst possible hand in existence, there's nothing I or you can do to change that. But what you can do is you can take what you're dealt and you can build something amazing out of it. You can build that dream life you envision. You can build yourself into something more. And honestly, the journey, getting there, and all of that is such a blast. It's so fun. It's so amazing. And so I'm going to walk you through what I believe is the best tactic to get you from point A to point B, point A being where you're at, and point B being where you want to go. And if at first you don't fully grasp what I'm saying, or maybe it's a little bit confusing, as I keep going, it'll start piecing together, and I think you'll be able to understand what I'm saying. Every day you make choices, you build habits, and you follow routines that are slowly over time shaping future you. Most people, for some reason, cannot connect and remain conscious of the fact that what they're doing currently is shaping them into someone else 5 years from now. Their mind doesn't work in the way that they're able to see what they will inevitably become based on their habits, choices, and actions. And to show you exactly what I mean, let me give you an example. Let's say you're overweight and you decided one day to run 5 miles. At the end of that day, there's gonna be no noticeable difference in your health and no noticeable difference on your body. But do that every single day for a year and you'll look different, you'll feel different, and you'll perform different in a way that'll dramatically affect your life. On any individual day, you might look at the results and see no noticeable difference. But over time, those seemingly insignificant changes compound into something crazy. For example, after a couple months of running, you lose a little bit of weight and suddenly you start to have more energy. Extra energy means you're able to be more productive while you're at work. Because you're more productive, you end up getting more recognition and end up getting a promotion. Getting that promotion means there's more income coming into your bank account, which means you're able to afford better and healthier food. All of these things add up to you having a better attitude and just a happier outlook on life. After a few more months of doing all of this, you start to shred even more weight, and now your friends, your family, and your coworkers are noticing, which pumps you up even more and gets you even more hyped to keep going. Because of this extra confidence, you decide to play basketball with some coworkers after work, burning even more calories and getting you in even better shape. All of these positive gains mean after work, you no longer feel like you have to sit on the couch and just watch TV because you're so burnt out. And instead, you're out in the backyard running around with the kids, playing. You like to go hiking and adventuring and swimming and kayaking. And because of all this, your attitude goes up even more, and your relationship with your friends and family have never been better. You're crushing it at work, you're healthier than ever, and it feels like everything in life is just going the way you want it to. All of that crazy stuff can happen from one seemingly insignificant change to your daily routine compounded out over time. And I know that sounds absolutely insane, but I'm telling you, not only have I seen that happen in my own life, but I've seen that happen in other people's lives. And I bet if you really think about it, you've probably seen this same process play out with people you know too. Now on the opposite end of the spectrum, I want you to imagine another person. They start the simple, innocent habit of having an extra bowl of ice cream at night. If you were to look at his life the very next day, you would notice no noticeable difference whatsoever. His health, relationship, and life would look exactly the same as it had the day before. Fast forward a couple months and he's gained a little bit of extra weight. And because of that extra weight, coupled with, the negative health effects of eating that extra sugar each night, he seems to have a lot less energy when he's trying to go throughout the day. Because of having less energy at work, he started to get up less frequently and move around less frequently, as well as he's getting a few less tasks done throughout the day. His boss and coworkers start to notice the slack in his decline in his work performance, and he gets passed over for promotion. The job ends up going to the new guy who hasn't even been there as long as he has. He feels kind of betrayed by his company and starts to have a negative outlook on his bosses, which causes an even further decline in his work performance. After work, he's so tired and emotionally worn out that all he wants to do is sit down, relax, and watch some TV, which unfortunately causes him to gain even more weight and his health to decline even further because he's just a lot less active now. And because of this extra weight and just kind of the drama he feels at work, he starts to feel a lot more insecure than he used to, as well as he's become more angry and more bitter and just overall has a more negative outlook on life. Because of all this negativity, he starts snapping at his kids and his wife more, which causes a lot of issues at home and causes him to become even more depressed. To cope with extra depression and stress, he starts adding even more sweets and bad habits into his daily routine, and it keeps going and going and going. I personally have seen friends and family members play out both of these situations in real life multiple times. I'm sure you have seen the same thing happen. It's really depressing. It's really sad in a lot of circumstances. But the reality that you have to understand is that current you has so much power over future you by the habits and the routines that you have established. So for me, what I was able to change that radically improved my life was a few different things. The first thing was the people I spent my time with. I went from spending time with people who were dragging me down and pulling me down to people who had positive attitudes. They would encourage me. They were living the life that I wanted to live. The second thing I changed that I thought was huge was the way that I treated and talked about people behind their back. People love talking negatively about other people behind their back to make themselves feel better. But the thing is, subconsciously, when you do this, you're now thinking and expecting that other people are talking negatively about you behind your back, which leads to mistrust and gossip, and you never actually being able to be close to somebody because you're always expecting them to, betray you, and just completely erodes the foundation of your relationships. The third thing I did was I built a daily routine of lifelong exercise. A lot of people exercise and are like, I'm gonna do this for 5 months. That was totally me too. But then one day my dad had a stroke. He was only 53 years old. He ended up passing away a few weeks later. And it was because he didn't establish a routine of lifelong exercise. And for me, I want to be around for my kids and I want to be around, to be there for my wife. So I decided, I need to establish a routine of lifelong exercise so I could just be healthy. And because of this, there was a lot of other effects in my life, like I kind of mentioned in the analogy, which was more energy and more self-confidence. The next thing that I started a habit of that radically transformed my life and everything about it was just reading books every single day. I read books on entrepreneurship, on mindset, on success, on business, on marketing. And just like your habits compound, your knowledge can compound as well, which obviously helps you be more successful. But a lot of these books, it's like being mentored by just like some of the most amazing people on the planet, some of the most successful people on the planet when it comes to all these different things. I knew personally that I just wouldn't have the time to sit down and actually read a book every single day. So I ended up doing audiobooks. I got an Audible subscription, and I just listen to books while I'm either working out or driving, or sometimes when I'm mowing the lawn, or just doing other tasks that I know I can listen to an audiobook during. Another huge one is I started writing down physically my goals every single day. This is pretty much something that almost every successful person you will ever read about will recommend that you do. And so many people recommended doing it. I originally was like, I'm not gonna do that. That sounds stupid. It sounds like a waste of time. Like, what could I possibly get out of that? But so many people recommended it that eventually I was like, I'm just gonna try it because so many people are recommending it. And it ended up being a huge game changer because I went from not really believing I could achieve insane things to slowly over time, the more times I wrote it down, the more I started to actually, really visualize it and believe that I could do it. And that belief and that mindset was a game changer for me in actually going and accomplishing the things I wanted to accomplish, as well as every single day I started the day refocusing on what was, my goal and my aim, which helped me continue my progress toward it. A big one for me, just as a dad and a husband, is I started telling my wife and telling my kids just how much they mean to me and how much I love them every single day. I know my dad loved me and I know he really cared about me, but that's something he never really did, is he never was intentional and was like, hey, I love you, I just want to tell you that. I know that most people end their lives filled with regrets, not having told the people they care about how much they cared about them. And I don't want to have that same regret, so I'm just really intentional and proactive, and I tell them every single day how much they mean to me and how important they are to me. So there's never any room for doubt. Obvious huge one is I started taking massive action every day. I started working towards my goals every day, and I kept that consistently going. Like, think of YouTube. I started YouTube I started YouTube a long time ago. I started probably like a decade ago, and I built up a channel, and then I had a kid and I stopped really, filming on that channel and kind of gave it up. And the channel that you're currently watching this video on was actually my second channel for that channel, where I posted behind the scenes videos and different things like that. But the current iteration of this channel where I talk about all this stuff, I started really back in August of 2020. And at first I wasn't very consistent with the channel and I got almost no traction. It wasn't until I started being consistent with the channel. I started posting videos every single week. I started consistently trying to get better at YouTube, consistently trying to grow my YouTube, consistently trying to make my content more helpful and really just trying to help people, that I started to experience, explosive growth on YouTube. And I'm gonna continue with that consistency. And today I'm at 13,000 subscribers. A year from now, I wouldn't be shocked if I was at 50,000 or 100,000 plus subscribers, just because I know the power of compounding consistency. And the last one is I just practice the skills I want to be good at, even when I'm horrible at it. Even when I completely suck at it, I keep practicing, I keep trying, and I consistently try to improve over time. And it always works. I'm always able to improve. I'm always able to get better. And eventually I go from sucking at it to being really good at it. It's all about just trying to get a tiny bit better every single time you try to practice. And hopefully now that you kind of understand the idea of compounding and you understand how it works, that'll help you too, because you might be discouraged when you go to try to learn how to play guitar and you can't play guitar and you're like the worst person at playing guitar, which just happened to me. I was the worst. I was so bad when I first started playing guitar and trying to sing and make songs that my sister in her room next to my room would literally scream at me just like, you are the worst, you have zero talent, you suck, please stop playing. And she was in like 8th grade or a freshman at that point, so she was obviously a little bit immature. She wasn't necessarily trying to be mean, she was just really annoyed by how horrible I was at playing guitar. And I genuinely was pretty bad at playing guitar. But I kept practicing, I put in an hour a day, and over the course of a couple years, I became really good at playing guitar and I became decent at singing. So now that you have an understanding of compounding, I hope that gives you confidence and just the ability to keep going and to keep working through the suck till you get to a place where you're really proud of your abilities and you're proud of who you become, and you see that transformation in your life and in your success that you've always, dreamed of. And obviously you're not gonna transform everything about your life overnight or in the next week or in the next month. It's gonna gradually, slowly happen over time. And then just one day, far in the future, you'll wake up and be like, geez, how did I become so awesome? And it'll be because of the positive habits and routines you've cultivated on a daily basis and stayed consistent with over that period of time. If this video has been helpful, please hit that like button. It helps my channel grow. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and you got to hit the bell next to it if you want to actually be notified each time I release a video. I try to respond to every comment, so if you leave a comment below, I'll try to respond to it and say hi. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.